Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? This is not the smartest guys in the room. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Anytime I see you, my day gets better. I did have an iced coffee this morning. It was pretty good. It upset my stomach a little bit. So uh, maybe I took my probiotic. I had my iced coffee, but I'm not feeling my stomach's acting a little weird, Tom.
Got to figure that out, man. I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? What am I like gonna try to pretend like I'm some kind of gastroenterologist or something? I got no idea what's going on with you. But
I live a life of, well, you see behind me, you can see on the edge of the screen, I have a little gallbladder stuffed animal back there that my friend Julie sent me. So I'm pointing at it for Tom. He can see my smiley face gallbladder. And
gotcha.
inside of the gallbladder, there's a zipper and it has little stones in it, Tom.
Was that a hint?
No, I did not have any stones, but well, I think they were gallstones, little green gallstones in the gallbladder. So today we are talking about AI fatigue, Tom. AI data centers, AI fatigue. The Pope's talking about AI. Even the Pope's done with AI. I mean, uh, what? This is a weird time. What say you?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I think everybody is just getting fed up of like just hearing about AI nonstop, right? And I think some of it has to do with the fact that so I think a lot of this the way we've been inundated with AI is really interesting because if you look at where it's coming from, like who is pushing AI the most, right? Who is insisting that it is an inevitable technology, that it is inevitable that we will use it in our daily lives, that it is inevitable that we will rely on it for all kinds of things, that it is happening no matter what, right? And we have to get on board with it. If you look at who's insisting that that is our future, our reality, it's the AI companies, right? It's the big technology companies. It's the companies that are most heavily invested in AI, right? The ones that have spent tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars investing in AI, right? Are the ones who are pushing it the hardest. And of course they are, right? It makes sense. It's sort of like obviously like Coca-Cola thinks Coca-Cola is the best soft drink ever and everybody should drink Coca-Cola, right? Because it helps their bottom line if they believe that and say that to people and get other people to believe that. So what are the AI companies doing? What are these tech giants doing? They're doing the exact same thing, right? They are pushing AI. They're trying to get people to acquiesce to it being an inevitability. And look, technology and the evolution of technology will happen regardless of whether you want it to or not, right? I always think it's kind of silly when I hear people lamenting how, oh, we didn't used to do things that way. With it back in my day, we used to do blah 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 back in my day. And my kind of response to that is always, well, yeah, I mean, times change. That's what happens. Like that is life, that is reality, that is existence, right? Things change over time. But I think a lot of this AI fatigue, I think it's funny you mentioned the Pope. I just saw that either late last night or early this morning. I saw something about the letter that he put out. But so I'd love to hear your take on that when I finish. But yeah, I think a lot of this AI fatigue is just like people just we're getting beat over the head with it, and people just going enough already, enough. Like okay, I get it. Like AI is going to be a sort of a technology that will change the way we work, that will change the way we and that's true, right? In the same way that smartphones did, right? 20 years ago, right? God, that's crazy to think that smartphones, I think almost 20 years ago, right? I think the first iPhone came out in like 2007 or something. So like almost 20 years ago, right? 19 years ago, sort of smartphones changed the way we live our lives, for better or worse, right? I mean, that is sort of the inevitable march of evolution and technology, right? That it will change over time. But, um, you know, also, we don't have to adopt it and we don't have to use it exactly the way they want us to. And we don't have to use it as much as they want us to either. And that's something I can get into a little bit, as we go forward in the show today, Dom, that I can talk a little bit more about, like some of my frustrations with the way people talk about AI, and the way that kind of gets people to think about AI, because I think it's super misleading, and just a bad way of doing things overall. But yeah, curious to hear your thoughts on what the Pope had to say in his letter.
Well, I don't know how detailed I can be about the Pope's letter. Just this overarching thought of like, cat got out of the put the cat in the bag. Is that a saying? Put the put this back in its container and don't let it run wild. Is the understanding I got from what he was saying. So for me, this whole I like AI. I use AI. Like I get using AI. You comparing it to a telephone, the new iPhone or something like that. Yeah, that's probably a good premise there because I use my iPhone. I love it. It doesn't change everything every day that I do. I can still go out to McDonald's or on a date with my wife, and it's not like you need to have AI for this. You need to have AI to ride your bike. No, I don't need AI to ride my bike or go for a walk in the woods. And the thing that really bugs me about this AI stuff, Tom, is how so many companies, like the mortgage company, we use AI now. The all these companies advertising, we use AI. We're more efficient. We use AI. Like, just do a good job. To market AI forward that you're doing something. They're they're using these words as if like people don't understand them and they found some secret code. No, you didn't. Everybody's using it. Everybody uses it. You know what I value? This is my last soapbox I'm going to get on here. You know what I value besides like the love of my family and things like that? I value time. If AI gives me time back, if I can do a menial task faster because of it, I'm all in. If I can't or it waste my time, like all this nonsense. You got to do an AI to do this. AI, start a new business with AI. I don't need to start a new business with AI. I have a business that I like and enjoy. So I'm not doing that. So Tom, I'm sorry I could go on, but that's where I'll start before we get to everybody else. Go on.
Yeah, no, and I think like that actually is serves as a pretty good segue into what I wanted to talk about, the way people talk about AI, right? I'm really, really tired of people humanizing AI, right? And this is a cue that I think people have taken from, and it's not just sort of lay people. I'm talking about like journalists, respected journalists, brilliant journalists. Like I'm thinking of one in particular who I'm virtually certain is smarter than I am, right? So like a smart person, for sure smarter than I am, uh, is referring to AI in his journalism, with words like, um, uh, when it knows blah 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 blah, right? And like the problem is using that kind of language implies consciousness, right? And I just want everyone to be disabused of the notion that AI is conscious in any way similar to or in any way that we think of consciousness as human beings. It is not. It is absolutely not conscious. It does not know things the way we know things, right? It does not think the way we think. It is incredibly sophisticated mathematics that uses a massive data set to predict what is the most likely outcome, right? Or the most likely thing to happen next or come next, right? And so when you post a query to it, that query gets converted essentially into binary language, right? And then it uses this vast data set that it's been trained on to then say, okay, in a situation like this, right, what is most likely to happen next, and compares that. And this is why it needs so much computing power, right? It compares that example to its existing data set and looks for similar situations, right? And then draws conclusions based on the parallels that it can find. But it doesn't think, right? It doesn't know. It is performing a task. And like I've said it before, and I will say it again, we all have, predictive text, right? Autocomplete on our smartphones, right? Where you're typing a word and it'll put like 3 options up at the top, right? Because very simply, when you put, like a T, an H, and an E, right? There's only so many word combinations that can lead to. And the most likely are like the, there, and there, right? Like, so it'll give you 2 versions of there and the, right, as the autocomplete options. And and it's most likely one of those 3. It might be something else. It might be they are, right, or there, like that version of there, whatever it is. It might be they, but it's most likely one of the options that it gives you. And that's exactly what AI does, but on a massive, almost incomprehensible scale very quickly, which is why they're talking about these massive data centers. It's why we need all of this computing power. It's why we need these chips, right? Is because it takes a massive number of calculations per second to be able to run through all the possible scenarios and deliver something that is a plausible, likely next thing to occur, right? Next word to come in the sentence, essentially, right? So yeah, so AI doesn't think, right? It doesn't know things, right? It may have information available to it in its data set, but it doesn't know stuff the way you or I know stuff, right? And so it drives me nuts when people sort of assign this consciousness to it. It is not intelligent in that way. It is not. It does not have emotions. It doesn't feel things. It doesn't believe things. It is a predictive engine. Period. End of story. Right? It is math, and like it is dispassionate because math is dispassionate, right? And people keep trying to assign these sort of human qualities to it because we don't have language really to speak about it. And so my kind of default in the way I'm encouraging other people to talk about it is like, instead of defaulting towards humanistic terms, default towards like mathematical terms, right? Dispassionate, right? Emotionless, or emotionally neutral terms, right? That's a better way to talk about AI and to think about AI than to assign this sort of like, either morality or emotion, or humanistic sort of behavior and consciousness to it, because it's just not right.
Tom, well said all around. You got me thinking of so many searches that I've done or prompts that I've done where I'm like, give me a list of gas prices based on administration over the last 30 years, or give me this. And they give me an answer that is completely wrong. Where like we could Google and see that, we could drive down the street and see that this is completely wrong. This answer they give. Well, they think a lot of times predictive modeling, this is what you want to hear. So, like in publishing with me, when you see an author write it, use it, select it, say write like this, they think author accepts, author agrees, author prompts, and then chapter 2 comes. Well, author said yes to the style. Author said yes to this, yes to that, and now chapter 2 came. Well, if AI is predicting what somebody likes based on what they prompted, it's giving you the same thing for chapter 2. I mean, and then it's narrowing it. So by the time you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm really the next overly chat GPT books that come in. I'm gonna review word count per those chapters now and see how many words, how close it is. And I'm gonna guess. I I'm gonna guess it's within 5 words. Some of these chapters. That's how close it is. All right, let's get. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We got some guests here, so we got some panelists. So Holly, do you have AI fatigue? What do you got going on with it? Are you just starting 4 new companies? I got an idea for you, Holly. An ice cream shop that is AI ice cream, a dog kennel that's AI dog kenneling. What else you got? Go on, Holly.
Oh, I'm laughing at that. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I do have AI fatigue. I love AI. I use it. I do find myself Googling sometimes, just like you said a minute ago with gas prices, to see if what I got back was accurate. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Um, but I think where my fatigue comes in with it more than anything, aside from editing AI written stuff, that's a kind of a different story. But I get tired of people throwing it in my face. And well, ask AI. Just use AI for that. Don't write that. Use AI for that. Don't do this. AI can do that in a second, and then go do something else. Use your time differently. And they may be right to a certain extent, but I don't want to use AI to write my things. I don't want to use AI to do whatever it is they're telling me to do. And that's the part. And I started out kind of trying to explain to people my reasoning behind it, and they don't want to hear it, which is okay. So I just quit and I just don't do that. But that's where my fatigue comes in, is from people pushing it on me. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, Holly, well done. And it is funny. Sometimes you hear like people that almost treat you like you're dumb if you're not using it for everything you're doing. Did you AI cook this morning? No. Did you AI make my coffee? No. But I'm not saying AI is bad, but I didn't use it for every little thing. Does that make me like a failure, Tom?
No, not at all. And I don't think you should, right? I mean, that's the thing. And there's actually some really interesting research coming out now about how some of the sort of like convenience technology is kind of negatively impacting our ability to kind of survive without it, right? So like one of the things they found is that people pay less attention when they're driving if they always have GPS programmed to where they're going, right? So they pay less attention to their driving and are actually I think it was more likely to get in accidents, right? And less likely to actually be able to tell you where they are, right? Or how they got there, that they just sort of like don't pay any attention to where they're going. And suddenly, you say like, oh, you went to such and such a place, like this restaurant or whatever. How'd you get there? Or like, how can you give me directions? And their answer is going to be, no, I don't know how I got there, right? And like, obviously, totally going to date myself, but I started driving, as did you, before GPS was a thing.
Jesus
right?
Christ.
And what the fuck was that? Anyway, so started driving before GPS was a thing. And, like I tend to use it less, right? Than like some other people that I know, or probably most likely I use it less than people who are younger than me. But like, my wife, Becky was saying the other day that like after reading some articles about this, she was actually making a conscious effort to like not engage it more often, right? Just so like she would actually pay attention to where she was going and like not kind of go on autopilot as often we do when we're just sort of following the prompts on the GPS. So but yeah, I mean, I don't think it makes you a bad person at all. I think AI has its uses, but the sort of the prevailing push from of course, from tech companies that are heavily invested in AI and AI companies themselves is use it for everything. And I think the answer is, well, don't use it for everything. Use it for what it's good for, but don't use it for everything because it's not good for everything, right? It's not useful for everything. And in fact, it makes some things worse. As you were talking about with the books, right? Like, I mean, it makes people's writing worse in a lot of
Yeah,
a lot
no, in defense of it, with it probably makes some people's writing better too, Tom. I mean, there's some people can't write at all, so when they use, when they're mimicking things and stuff like that, maybe it is getting better, but not everybody. It's getting the same as the chapter before it most of the time. So, all right, before Tom stumps, before we get to Dr. Tachi and our new friend here, it says gay man. So before that, let's go. Tom says let's go to Dr. Tachi, then all that. Okay, so Dr. Tachi, are you AI everything, or are you AI fatigued, or do you have a new business that you're starting today, an AI hat business? What do you got, Dr. Tachi?
I would like an AI hat business, so I'll take that challenge. But good morning, everyone. I I love AI. Let me just say because love the fact that it cuts down on certain tasks and frees me up to do other tasks. However, the place where I get fatigue is in the erosion of creativity. One thing that I've noticed, and I had to do this. So I do social media for one of my clients, and I do shoot his videos. So of course, if you're posting to YouTube, it works better if you have a thumbnail. So I generally would create my thumbnails myself before, but then I said, well, wait a minute now. I'm employing you to do things for me. So how about you create a thumbnail for me? And it was fine. It was great. It was lovely. But what I noticed is that everybody else also uses an LLM model, usually Chat GPT or something, to create their thumbnails as well. And so things start to look uniform and the same. So I specifically had to go in with a prompt to combat that type of thing. But many people won't do that. They'll be like, oh, this is great, this is fine, and they'll put it up. So when you look at YouTube now and you look at all the thumbnails for certain things, you're starting to see them all look the same. And so it's that erosion of creativity. There's a time saver there, but then there's the erosion of creativity. So my thing is like, it seems like sometimes it's eroding the patterns recognition we have of things. And we're like, oh, that looks fine until you look at it against other things. So that's where I take issue with AI. But that's not AI's fault. That's our fault.
That's totally fair. I mean, I think the place where I would say where you're going to see individual creativity shine is exactly what you were talking about in that case, Dr. Tachi, where you looked at the thumbnails and said, hang on a second, there's a uniformity here that strikes me and I don't want to be a part of, right? I don't see that as valuable for me or for the content for my client. And so I'm going to make an effort to escape that uniformity, to push the envelope a little bit, right? To come up with a different look, a different aesthetic for my thumbnails. And I think like the way I look at AI in that context is it's a really great iterative tool, right? Because you can turn around and give it a prompt and say, all right, tweak this or push this direction, or I want more of this, or like, I want you to incorporate a sense of this, or like something that evokes these feelings, or upload an image and say, I like the color palette of this image, incorporate that into the thumbnail, whatever the case may be, right? But it gives you an opportunity to iterate way faster than you would be able to iterate on your own if you were like by hand designing each element. And also because you can assign it a task and then you can go off and do something else while it performs that task and spits out a new thumbnail for you. So yeah, I mean, I think it's also going to really do a lot. I think people who are real creatives, right, and real creative thinkers have a sort of a leg up when it comes to using AI and leveraging it as an iterative tool. And it's really going to kind of create a real separation between people who are good at pushing creativity and iterating versus and driving iteration versus people who aren't, right? And so yeah, so I think it's going to really like actually create more separation between sort of the mundane standard, right, of people who are not creative, people who are using it to execute creative work for them versus people who are creative, people who are using it as an iterative tool to push their own creative work further, faster. So yeah, so I think I mean I agree with you. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I'm just, you know, when it comes to the fatigue, I'm just tired of being told to use AI for everything, because it's not an everything solution, right? It's good at what it's good at, but it's not good for everything. But yeah, anyway, so with that in mind, let's move on to Gay Man, our new guest up here. What are your thoughts? Are you tired of being told to use AI for everything, or are you happy to embrace it and start a, I don't know, a pet sitting business?
To answer your question directly, I'm not tired of AI at all. The only thing I'm tired of is people's misunderstanding of it. And everything you said, I was in the office yesterday, and the last conversation I had was with two colleagues, and they thought that AI was going to replace everything. And I'm like, it could never do. And then they even brought up examples of, because I'm in sales, okay? So I actually sell AI to businesses. And we were talking about different businesses who are using complete artificial intelligence sales agents. They went under. Because yes, I can use AI to draft emails. Yes, I can use AI to do value maps for businesses that I'm looking into to see how they make money, their business structure, and the different people within it, and what their pain points may be. AI is good for so many things. I use AI every single day. I love it. And I would not be able to do my job without it. I think it's a value add. I think AI is a thought partner. It's not a brain. And people think AI is a brain. People think AI is like cyborgs. It's like Terminator. Like they're going to be sentient, efficient replacements of human intuition, and we're not there. And even if we were there, human beings are kind of a little bit slow when it comes to adopting things that are that drastic. We're just not there yet. And I don't know if we can ever be there to where we can have an artificial consciousness that's going to be cheaper than just getting than just underpaying human beings that can just think by themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. You know, I mean, obviously, you heard me kind of go off on my rant earlier about how people talk about it, and there's sort of like assigning consciousness to it and stuff. I mean, it's a great tool. It's an incredible productivity tool. It's super useful. You know, I use it every day. Also, totally hear what you're saying, and 100% agree. It just drives me absolutely nuts how fundamentally people misunderstand what AI is and how it works and what it's good for. And you know, some of the fear mongering around it. And whatever, but yeah, it's interesting too that some of that is being pushed by AI companies. But yeah, anyway, Dom, what do you think?
Tom, you know what I think? I think it's top of the hour. I think it's time for something nobody's afraid of, but everybody wants. That's Tom's Thumbs, where we get a thumbs up or thumbs down from Tom on something going on in media and life and business and the world. It's not going to be about the Pope today because we already covered that. So, Tom, today's thumbs up or thumbs down. What does Tom think about UFC MMA on the White House lawn?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know how more on the nose idiocracy could be. Right? I mean, it is insane how closely, and I don't, it almost feels intentional. Like, it is so ludicrous that if you wrote it as a story or a script, people would be like, no way, not possible, would never happen. It's too far-fetched. It's too insane, right? Like, if you made a sequel, like, or like, you know, if you made Idiocracy now, right, people would be like, this is crazy. But like, I don't know how accidental it is. I don't know how on purpose it is. I don't know how much it is just that the writers of Idiocracy just really nailed it. But like, having an MMA, like a UFC fight on the White House lawn and building that monstrosity is absolutely on the nose, exactly what you would expect to see in a movie like Idiocracy, where the president is like a pro wrestler, right? I'm getting that right, right? That the president in Terry Crews's character in Idiocracy, I'm pretty sure was a pro wrestler. And so, like, it's just so on the nose. It's absurd. It also makes me think that, like, I've seen, and I don't know if I'll be able to find one. I'm not going to try, actually, but I've seen a bunch of memes recently, or a bunch of like kind of tweets that have been circulating and kind of going viral, and people have been resharing all over the place on social media, where they're basically like, you know, got this neighbor that moved in. Their house is like a mess. It's constantly under construction. There's so much noise. You know, they're like a terrible person. They've been, you know, married 3 times, cheated on all 3 of their wives. Now married to an immigrant who barely speaks English. Have 5 kids with these 3 different women. You know, the neighborhood's going to hell. There's gunshots. Of course there is, right? All of this stuff. Like, whatever you do, steer clear of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, right? Because it's just going to shit. And yeah, I mean, I think the monstrosity that they're constructing on the lawn with these like huge like arches for the lights and things that they're putting up, just really sums it up. Yeah, the neighborhood is going to shit, right? All the gold baubles that make it look like, you know, the ghost of Louis the 14th is haunting the White House, right? Like, I mean, it's just insane and absurd and ridiculous, and unbecoming, yeah, and disappointing and sad, like, kind of all at the same time. So for all of those reasons, and more than I haven't mentioned, yeah, the MMA fight on the White House lawn gets a giant double thumbs down for me.
Did the event already happen?
It is stupid, and shouldn't happen.
Tom, I'm surprised that you are a UFC fan. Me and you send messages about MMA and UFC. I'm not that surprised, but just that you are a fan of hand-to-hand combat and the sport and things like that. But as far as them being in front of the White House, you're not a fan of that, is what I'm getting, besides for all the other stuff going on there.
I mean, am I an MMA fan? Not really. I mean, MMA is okay, but I'm not like a huge MMA fan. I'm okay with it. But yeah, like, I'm not a massive fan of it, and I'm definitely not a fan of the business of MMA. And I'm not a fan of, like, also, I heard recently on a podcast, Dana White was getting asked about his support for Trump and his support of the administration, despite what they're doing and so on and so forth. And like, he was trying to like pretend that like, oh, he's just my friend. Like, it's not political. Like, I'm not really supporting him. He's just a buddy of mine, you know, yada, yada, yada. And yet here they are, like, creating this spectacle on the White House lawn. And it's just, you know, it's just bad. And it's, the reason I think it's sad is because I think it's bad for our country, to sort of to fall to this position, right? I think it's beneath the dignity of the White House and the office of the president and the government of this country to have this spectacle be a part of our 250th celebration. And I think that at the end of the day, it lowers. I don't know that it could get lower at this point, but it lowers our esteem on the world stage, right? Like, I mean, just President Trump and Dana White and all of these people are just, it's almost like they're working around the clock to ensure that people think less of the United States. I don't know. I guess they're doing a good job. But I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all.
Tom, all right, we've peeled back an onion here today. Who knew this glorious occasion of, on the White House lawn, these special fights with the soldiers and all that. But all right, let's get moving here, Tom. Free tickets to soldiers. Come on, man.
It's just so dumb. Like, if you want to do it in an arena. Like, and how much is it costing? Like, how much are we spending, right? How many taxpayer dollars are going to put on this spectacle, right? Which is really for like an audience of one, right? It's really because Trump thinks it would be fun. And so he wants to do it. And so they're doing it, right? And at what cost, right? At what expense are we putting on this absurd spectacle? Like, go do it in an arena. I'm not saying don't have the fight. I'm not saying don't give free tickets to soldiers. Sure, do that. Fine. I have no issue with that. But it doesn't need to be on the White House lawn. In fact, it shouldn't be.
There you go. All fair, man. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We are here. We're talking about AI fatigue. Somebody said in the comments that they had a AI song that they said it mashed up multiple genres and it was the best song. I bet they're messing with us, and I wonder if they really did like this song that they heard. I mean, I've heard AI songs, and I guess it's all right. So we're talking AI fatigue. Data center. What about these data centers that are just taking up all the water everywhere and they're putting them on land everywhere and trying to, cooling towers and things like that for the AI centers. And I mean, there's a lot to it that people don't understand. So we're back. We're talking AI. Go on, Tom.
Well, I was just going to say, what about that data center in Utah that Mr. Wonderful is backing and is trying to get pushed through? And I'm not sure, actually. I haven't followed up. I don't know what the current status of it is. I'm not sure when they were, because I think there was a referendum on it that they were voting on that because they had to change some laws or pass a law to actually get it to happen. But I just think it's funny. I keep hearing all these clips of him, talking about how they he kind of using that tired trope of like, oh, the people protesting this don't even live there. They're bussing in protesters. Like, I think the people who live there should get a say, not people who are being bussed in. And it's like, bro, you don't live in Utah. You're not even from the United States. Like, what are you talking about? What are you even talking about? Right? He's Canadian. He owns a primary residence, I think, in Switzerland. And then has one residence somewhere in the U.S. But like, he's not, and it's not even in Utah. Like, he doesn't even have a residence in Utah, let alone be from Utah or from the United States more broadly. Right. So it's like, what are you talking about, bro? You're a foreign interest trying to come in and build this massive data center that's going to raise the average temperature in the area by I think by 20 degrees overnight or something like that. Absurd. Like, it's crazy what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, I think this is where they're going to run into or run up against sort of public resistance, right? Where they're trying to go too big too fast, right? Like this kind of thing, like I don't see it flying. I'm gonna check real quick and see what the status of it is. But yeah.
Okay, you check away, and I just want to go back on that, like Holly and Dr. Tachi, me, you all said for this conversation, we're having a debate about AI here. We all four said, and a friend, gay man that came up, is we all love AI in some circumstances. We all use it. We all see benefits, and we're all learning, but we're not blindly reliant on it. I use it primarily to disseminate content that I and authors have created. Original content, whether you see it and used in a video that I make, it might transcribe and then put the words on the screen. They're my words. And if I took this conversation and made it into a newsletter, I might add some facts behind this, but it would be based on my words. I'm not taking Dr. Tachi's article and saying, rewrite Dr. Tachi's article and put my name on it. Dr. Tachi, what do you think? What are your best uses? We'll go around the room. What are your best uses for AI? When you're using it, Dr. Tachi, where are you like, this is a go to, this is a time saver, this is going to work for me? And if she doesn't answer, Tom, I'll ask you and Holly the same questions. When is it best used for you? Tom, you first.
I mean, look, I think AI is best used in two ways for me, right? Like it's best used as a productivity tool and best used as an iterative tool. And so for me, what that means is if I have a relatively simple, mundane task that I can offload to AI, particularly when it comes to sort of like drafting, right? I like to use it as sort of a drafting tool. It gives me, I'm one of those people that has a hard time starting from like a blank page, right? Because my brain goes in so many directions. I just need a starting point and then I can kind of be off to the races. And so often for me, when I'm talking about using it as a productivity tool or a drafting tool, I will use it to create that starting place for me the same way I would look for, an employee or somebody on my team to sort of get things started. And then I would come in and provide guidance and steerage and maybe kind of take over from AI. I wouldn't do that to an employee necessarily, but, from AI, I'll just kind of come in and take over and go in the direction that I want to go in. And then, like I was saying before with Dr. Tachi, is an iterative tool. If you're trying to come up with a new creative solution to something, or you're trying to look, you can start with a draft and then say, okay, now I want you to basically execute the same command, but I want to do this. I want to change this one piece of it, right? I want this to look slightly different if you're using an image generation tool, right? I want to use a different example if you're using a writing tool, right? Or a drafting tool. So yeah, I mean, those are the two ways that I really use it, is sort of productivity to kind of like to offload mundane work. But then also to use it as an iterative tool to kind of move quickly through that iterative process to get closer to a finished product faster, right? But I'm always the final say. And I think that's the big thing that a lot of people miss, is like they'll kind of ship the work of AI without close scrutiny. And I think that's a mistake. A human being always has to be the last word on the work.
100% agree with that, Tom. And reviewing the last word. Do not cut and paste without reviewing that. Me and my wife saw somebody recently that was going through some hardships, and they were trying to get some donors to them, solicit some donors, and they told about their hardship. And then in the middle, during their story, it said, would you like this to be more inspirational to get more money? Would you like it to lean this direction? And then it went back to more of the hardship story. And I wonder, like anybody that's used AI, the prompt was right in the middle of this heartfelt uh, whatever here, and you're like, come on, man, if you're gonna use it, be the, like Tom saying, be the last word. Like if I'm using it, somebody's in Rachel in the comments said, when did you use it to this level? So for me, disseminating stuff I've already done, and then okay, I'm not in video production, Tom. I can't make videos fast. It's not my business. So using it to transcribe or take this and make it into clips or reels, and then yeah, I'm looking at it to make sure the words are right on the screen, to make sure that when I add B-roll, the people don't have they should have 5 fingers, that they don't have 3 fingers or extra long fingers. All that stuff happens. But I'm last line, but it's what I said, it's me. And those are just some of the ways I use it. So, Holly, before we get to PSAs, we got a lot to do here. How are you using it successfully? Give us a tip.
Hey, I think most of the time I use it, it's for an idea generator and not even always necessarily for work. The last time I used it was for this past Sunday after church. We had a luncheon and the theme was bring your favorite viral recipe. And so I Googled, or didn't Google, I went to Chat GPT, sorry, and asked for the best viral recipes. And that's what I used it for. So I use it for things outside of my business way more than I use it for things inside of my business. And I got a really good recipe, by the way. But I think my most main use is idea generators for it, using it at this point.
Thank you, Holly. Dr. Touchy, we had come through you. If you wanted to weigh in on how are you best using it, I'll give you a 3, 2, 1 on that. Okay, Tom, then we're rolling to PSAs. You got a PSA for us today?
Where are we?
Tom,
I am ill prepared for my PSA today.
All right, well, come on, give me.
I should have saved some of my rant from earlier for it because that was sort of like the biggest thing that I was thinking about this morning. And usually it's like something I'm thinking about, in the morning before before we get on, that becomes my PSA, and I just I dropped the ball. But I can come up with something.
Go on, and I'm going to be short. You might be able to jump on my minute. We can do a double PSA minute if you want.
I mean, we can see if that works. Let me.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
All right, let me get us set up, and we'll go to PSA. All right, and let's put up a clock. You ready?
Yep, let's do it. Today is double PSA day. Me and Tom are both accomplishing our PSAs in less than a minute. Tom, my PSA today: when somebody's walking by a garbage can, a full garbage can, and they put their stuff in the garbage can and other stuff falls on the ground, pick it up, you big jerk. You knew you put your stuff in a full garbage can. Come on, man. Don't put it in the garbage can, push it down, pick it up, but don't just put your garbage in there and let it go on the floor. I don't like that. Tom, you're up.
All right, I'm 100% with you. And I think, if anything, if you are the kind of person that does not make sure that your garbage goes in a trash can, right, or in an appropriate receptacle, then you're telling me everything I need to know about the kind of person that you are, right? You're probably also the kind of person that doesn't return your shopping cart at the supermarket. You're probably also the kind of person that cuts in line. And I say, and I'm sure Dom backs me up on this, we got no time for you. Get out of here. You don't belong in society.
Well done. A double PSA. Now I'm going to use AI, and I'm going to clip our PSA later today into a reel, side by side, double PSA. Never been done. This is not the smartest guys in the room. Okay, Tom, before we still got memory lane. We still got to wrap up. Holly says we're on fire here, so that's good. I'm going to go back to this. Okay, let's see. I'm going to read these comments real quick. Mikey says, I love A, honestly, and it's here to stay due to how humans refuse to be about excellence but mediocrity. I believe it's here to stay, right? Of course it is. Okay, let's see what else, other comments we got here. When did we start to use it on that magnitude? Rachel says, we stand up for one another. Okay. we stand up for people in this room always, Tom. We're appreciative to all people that stop by this room and share your story, share a message, ask a question. We're pretty much here every week unless we're on summer hours and things like that. Okay, Tom. Let's see here. I got a couple notes here. Data centers, tired of wonder. Here's something I had about AI.
Well, I was going to say I can tell you what's going on with Kevin O'Leary's planned 40,000 acre data center in Utah. Just 40,000 acres of a data center, right? Like, just let that sink in.
I think it's the size of Manhattan. I think I read that.
It's about the size of Manhattan, right? And they want to build a data center the size of Manhattan and put it in Utah, right? But so a bunch of local county commissioners have already approved the initial agreements to advance the project at the beginning of the month. And that's what kind of set everybody off. They freaked out about it. And there was huge public pushback. And now the public is pushing for a referendum to be voted on that would basically override what these county commissioners have agreed to already. And I got to be honest, if I were a betting man, I would put money on the people and not the commissioners, right? I'd be curious to know who bankrolled the commissioners' campaigns and who's benefiting from it, what boards the commissioners sit on, whether or not there are conflicts of interest. Seems like it went through real easy for something that big, right? And with no room for public comment or feedback until after it was already approved. So anyway, it's most likely, I think, going to be dead in the water. At least that's my hope. But yeah, I think it's absolutely absurd. The size of Manhattan, crazy.
No data center for Tom. No fights on the White House lawn. Man, what a real curmudgeon you are.
I'm not saying no data centers. Like we will need increased data capacity, but we don't need to concentrate it in such a way that it actually changes the environment, right? Like that data center was going to if it was built, would raise the average temperatures in the desert overnight by like 28 degrees. Like that could have catastrophic effects on the local ecosystem, right? Also, where are they getting all the water from? It's in a desert, right? So where's the water coming from? How is that impacting people, right? So like, I'm not saying no data centers. I'm saying let's be responsible about it, right? Instead of just saying like, what can we make the most money doing? Let's actually, I don't know, here's a crazy thought. Let's put like what's best for humanity first, rather than like what's going to make Kevin O'Leary and his buddies the most money. I don't know. Crazy thought.
Tom, good stuff, man. We appreciate you. Not the smartest guys in the room. We got a couple more things to do before we go. I'm taking you anti-AI here, Tom. I'm taking you to something beautiful, storytelling, memory lane here. So a place we go where I talk about nostalgia, the past, whatever. Sometimes I'll show pictures. Today, I want to remind you of an old school sleepover at your buddies, at your aunts and uncles, waking up in the morning, somebody cooked you flapjacks, something like that. There's pancakes sitting around. You stayed up late, you laughed. Last night, I had an old school sleepover at my dad's house. It was the first time I had slept over at my dad's in 27 years, something like that. So I had a cot. First I was on a chair, then I got a cot, and my dad had a surgery yesterday. He's healthy as can be, but I hung out with him all night at dad's house, and it just made me think of old school sleepover. And I want everybody here to think about how fun it was and all those good times. And so I'm gonna leave you with that, Tom.
I like it. It makes me think of so my buddy Alex and I, who we've known each other our whole lives. We've known each other since we were 2 years old. He and I used to have sleepovers all the time, and I used to stay over at his house a lot. And one of the things that used to happen was he always had trouble falling asleep, even when we were kids, and I am one of those people that can lay down and in like 30 seconds be out. and it used to drive him nuts. And I can't tell you how many times, like, we'd be in his room, I'd be on like a pad on the floor next to his bed, right? And he would like throw or hit me with a pillow to wake me up, right? I can't tell you how many times I was like woken up, like getting hit with a pillow, be like, dude, you like dozed off mid-sentence, right? Like we were having a conversation and he was talking for a couple of seconds, and the next thing he was like, you know what I mean? And I was like asleep next to him, and I get woken up with a smack from a pillow. But yeah, that was the memory that popped into my head, was my buddy Alex waking me up being annoyed that I could fall asleep so fast, even when we were kids.
That's good stuff, Tom. And I appreciate you sharing one of those. And really, we're talking about AI today, the complete opposite of a real story from Tom's past, from my past, something they're never going to duplicate it. They can take a little bit of my story, a little bit of Tom's, a little bit of Holly's, but they're never going to duplicate it.
Yeah, well, and I think I think this just made me think of this too. I think one of the things that we're already starting to see, right, in some of the pushback about AI, right, one of the things we're starting to see is that, analog is kind of on the rise, right? Like there is increased demand for things that are either authentically a person's opinion, position, belief, etc., or direct interaction between people, right? Rather than just sort of being AI, nonstop. And there's also obviously concerns about privacy, right? And companies leveraging AI to, kind of feed us more hyper-targeted and unwanted marketing. I think there's going to be we're going to see an increase in people using, companies that provide privacy, that do data privacy online, that, sort of monitor and then go into data sets and remove your information. I think there was one that I saw recently called Cloak or something like that was getting advertised that I saw. I think we're going to see more of those, but I think there's some of the inevitable pushback of AI towards AI is going to be a resurgence in and a desire for analog sort of interactions, content, and media. So I mean, keep an eye out for that. There's going to be, I think, a little bit more of that coming down the pike as well.
Tom, and we will be here giving that. We'll be here every Wednesday. If people want to listen to our podcast, they can do that. I replayed this week on Monday on the podcast. It was one of my favorite episodes. It's the Christmas lumps of coal. So if anybody goes out to Apple or Spotify or wherever they listen to podcasts, you'll find the lumps of coal. And if you think Tom came out hot today in lumps of coal, you really came out hot, Tom. So why don't you wrap us up like only you can do, my friend?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I always enjoy the lumps of coal episode every year. We should I mean, I'm not going to say we should do it more often. It's appropriate to do it once a year, but I think we should come up with some other sort of seasonal special episodes to do for sure. But yeah, so look, I just want to say, I think I do agree that there is a certain amount of inevitability around AI, in the same way that there was inevitability around the rise of smartphones and the widespread adoption of them, in the same way there was inevitability around the widespread adoption of computing and email usage and internet usage, and the automobile 100 years ago, right? I think there is a certain amount of inevitability around it, the same way there is with any technology and any improvement in technology. But I also think at the same time that does not mean that we will be using it for everything and as everything and relying on it in everything we do anytime in the near future. And the last thing I would just remind everyone as we close out today, I would just remind everybody, remember, AI is not sentient. It doesn't think. It doesn't know. It's really, really, really sophisticated autocomplete, and it's just math. So when you think about AI, when you talk about AI, I just want everyone to remember that it's really just math. So be a little bit more dispassionate about it, and resist the urge to humanize it. I think if we talk about it in more appropriate terms, we're less likely to assign sort of humanistic values to it, and less likely to be afraid of it, and more likely to use it productively. So that's how I'm going to leave things today. Once again, as always, we really appreciate all of you being here, being a part of this conversation, and being a part of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. You guys are who make Dom and I not the smartest guys in the room. We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for being a part of this every week. And we can't wait to see you again next week. So until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We love you. Bye-bye.